Good evening. Welcome to our analysis of William Shakespeare's Hamlet. Today we will be discussing the comic relief scene in Act 5.
Comic relief is an added element in a work like a scene or character to contrast the tragic elements in order to intensify the next tragic event.
In Hamlet, this comic relief occurs in Act 5, Scene 1, with the gravediggers in the graveyard. The first point we will analyze is why Shakespeare chose to place this scene here. The climax of the play is technically reached at the end of Act 3, so
why did the comic relief occur here?
there are a number of reasons why this happens here instead. First of all, by placing the scene after we hear of Claudius's plan to end Hamlet, suspense is built. In the last scene of Act 4, the king says this following statement.
Revenge should have no bounds, but, good Laertes, will you do this? Keep close within your chamber. Hamlet returns shall know you are come home. Will put on those shall praise your excellence, and set a double varnish on the frame the Frenchman gave you. Bring you and find together, and wager on your heads. He, being remiss, most generous, and free from all contriving, will not pursue the foils, so that, with ease, or with a little shuffling, you may choose a sword unbaited, and a pass of practice requite him for your father.
By placing the comic relief after hearing of this master plan, the audience must wait and see how the epic story will end. Suspense is built as a viewer does not know if the king's plan will succeed or fail, and the plot is drawn out, and which only adds to this effect. At the end of Act 4, we also learn that Ophelia died from drowning to death.
One woe doth tread upon another's heel, so fast they follow. Your sisters drown, Laertes.
With the death of another central character, the introduction of comic relief allows the audience to take a step back from the main storyline and think through what has occurred and prepare for the final confrontation between Hamlet and Claudius. Another significant reason why comic relief is placed here is to show a contrast between life and death. The entrance of the gravediggers and their common rabble depict normal life in Denmark. This is a huge contrast from the tragedy and death that occur in the previous scene.
Is she to be buried in Christian burial when she willfully seeks her own salvation?
I tell thee, she is. Therefore make her grave straight. The crowner hath set on her, and finds it Christian burial.
How can that be, unless she drowned herself in her own defense?
Why, 'tis found so.
Gravediggers talk about death as if it's an everyday normal thing, further separating the world of the castle with that of the common folk. The setting further contrasts the mood of this scene as it takes place in a graveyard at night.
Dun dun dun.
So by placing comic relief here, the gravediggers provide a contrast through their apparent everyday normal lives to the dark and death-filled world of the castle.
They are sheep and calves which seek out assurance in that. I will speak to this fellow. Whose grave is this, sirrah?
Mine, sir.
Oh, a pit of clay for to be made for such a guest as thee.
I think it to be thine indeed, for thou liest in it.
You lie on it, sir, and therefore 'tis not yours. For my part, I do not lie in it. It is mine.
Thou dost lie in it and say it is thine. 'Tis for the dead, not for the quick. Therefore thou liest.
'Tis a quick lie, sir. 'Twill away again from me to you.
What man dost thou dig it for?
For no man, sir.
For, what woman then?
For none neither.
Oh. Well, who is to
one that was a woman, sir, but rest her soul, she is dead.
The next point we will analyze is how the gravediggers relate to one another and to Hamlet. Comic relief is demonstrated through this as the common people attempt to feel superior. This is reached when the readers realize that the gravediggers feel more intelligent and important when talking to each other. The gravediggers talk about how they have one of the most important and prestigious jobs because the job of digging has been around since biblical times. In fact, digging was Adam's original profession. In addition to that, jokes are passed, such as,
Who builds stronger than a mason, a shipwright, or a carpenter?
Help!
A gravedigger. Their house lasts until Judgment Day.
This is a way that the audience can see that the gravediggers hold themselves to a much higher social level than many others do. A further separation in the view on death by the gravediggers and royalty is seen when Hamlet asks the gravedigger whose grave he is digging. The gravedigger responds saying he is digging his own grave. After all, he is the one standing in it. It is the obvious separation in opinions referring to death that allows the readers to take a break from all of the tragic news that has just been thrown at them. These differing opinions allow the readers to laugh a little at the overly cocky gravediggers and think about the previous events and what may be coming next.
How the first gravedigger relates to Hamlet is another point of comic relief in this scene. Hamlet and the gravedigger number one get in a debate of wits as Hamlet tries to determine what the commoner is doing. This section was acted out a few minutes ago, and it shows the fact that the gravedigger does not give Hamlet a straight answer right away.
It is also obvious that the gravedigger has little respect for Hamlet because he, in fact, never acknowledges his presence. There is no interaction between the characters until Hamlet initiates conversation. The sarcastic language of the gravedigger was unexpected because he was a lower-class citizen speaking to a higher-class citizen. By reversing the typical roles of these two types of characters, comic relief is once again implored.
Today we showed you that the comic relief scene in Hamlet was placed where it is in order to build suspense, give the readers time to recuperate, and provide a contrast to the setting and mood of the story.
We also showed that the interactions of the gravediggers and Hamlet contributed to the comic relief of this scene by revealing the separation of classes and providing a break from the storyline.
We thank you for watching our critical commentary today of the comic relief in Hamlet and wish you a good evening.
Greatly appreciate the new seating chart that has been endorsed by Harry Potter, C-3PO, and R2-D2.
Please. Another significant